Let's get started.
This meeting is being recorded.
When you're busy, right, and you go, oh, can I afford to spend that time on my personal and professional development? It's a bit like there's a saying. I don't know if you've got any meditators on the line. Got anybody that does a bit of meditation? Anybody meditate?
I want to. It's something I think I should do, but
something you kind of mean to do, don't do. Yeah. So what they say is, if you haven't got 15 minutes to meditate, you need to meditate for an hour. And it is sometimes it's all about just giving yourself that opportunity to press the reset button. A bit like, well done, Iram, right choice today, right? When you think you haven't got time.
Well, you say that while I'm reading an email. I'm so sorry, I'm not paying attention. Terrible.
Stop it now, Iram. Stop it now. I'm going to contract with you now, so we're going to sort that right out. Matt's just joined us as well. Good morning, Matt. Thank you for joining us.
I'm a few minutes late.
That's okay. Thank you for joining us, Matt. We are recording. We're going to kick off now. So let's make a start. Let me share my screen with you so you can see my slides. Okay. So it's 10:34 on Wednesday. So I'm sure you've already been hard at it for at least a couple of hours. If I know you well enough already. So just take a moment before we start our session. Particularly Iram, take a moment. Just capture anything that's on your mind. If there's emails you need to respond to, if there are things you need to pick up outside of this session, just make a couple of notes to yourself if you need to. If you don't need to do that, just enjoy the moment and have a quick look at Stance's Santa over her left shoulder, and that will put a smile on your face.
Where is all of the decorations in the house? Because I'm so excited to have them up. I might at the end if we've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but what you do?
Got the old one, Stancy. I've got 3 trees up as well. Oh my God! My wreath on my door. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to have a word. I've got to have a word with my wife because we need to get some decorations out.
I'm doing my outside this weekend, so I'll be joining you.
Oh wow! I'm starting to feel excited for you. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Right, I've got to get on that. So things on your mind. If you need, decorations, that kind of thing, I need to put the decorations up, put that, make a note to yourself. And then just a reminder that these sessions, remember, we're about coming back to some of the foundations, some of the fundamentals of leadership, remembering that you've already got a lot of skill, experience, and knowledge. These sessions are about building on that, helping you to recognise, the sharpening of the edges and the opportunity just to get even better at what you do. That's what we're here for. And an opportunity to capture key takeaways in your discussions with each other in the main session. Just what are the key distinctions for you, and what will you take away in action as a result of our conversations today? Okay, let's contract, and then we'll get into our main session. So, as you all know, first of all, when the sessions are online, it's much easier to get distracted. So, I will ask you just to think about minimizing any other distractions. If you can just check, my phone's on silent, just phones on silent if you don't mind, iPads, watches, all sorts of things will bing and bong at you these days. So I've also just check, I've shut my email down as well so they can't ping up during this session. So whatever it takes for you just to minimize those distractions. As you also know, everything we talk about on these calls remains confidential among this group. So I will just invite you all just to remind yourselves and recommit to that confidentiality. So if I can have a kind of nods and just a bit of perfect, thank you. I'm going to imagine yours as well, Iram. So thank you for your.
Yeah, I am trying to get this working, but anyway, sorry about that.
That's all right. Don't worry. You're here with us. That's the main thing. And as we go through, there'll be questions that come up. Just ask those as they come up. We don't need to wait for pauses in breath. And hopefully you've all got this sense of a safe zone that we've built now. Just a reminder of that. Everything we talk about is, this is a safe zone. There's no judgment. It's all about being able to bring real life priorities and challenges with you to these sessions. And we're on for an hour and a half. We'll take a break in the middle, just a kind of leg stretch, comfort break, recharge your cups of tea or coffee or, we haven't got anybody in a different time zone. Nobody's drinking just yet, are they? No. Not yet. I ran a session with an international team. We had one guy on from Australia, and the sessions were on Friday morning, which was, I think it was 8 a.m. here, 6 p.m. there. So he had this cup mug, and he revealed to us at the end of a series of sessions that it was always full of beer. which I thought was quite nice actually. We said to you, you need to put it in a mug. You should have had it in a glass. You'd have had a sort of feeling. And we've got an agenda, so we'll stay on track, and we'll use our breakout rooms today. So we'll have plenty of opportunity just to kind of interact with each other and share what's going on for you as well. Okay, I won't go through these, but it's a reminder of what we're intending to go through as we work through each of our sessions, these sessions, the in-person sessions, but everything that we work through, got a pretty structured program that we're working through. Also, your accountability discussions. So hopefully these are going well. I'll give you a chance just to jump into some rooms in a moment. But just a reminder, you know who your accountability partners are. So I don't need to remind you of that. But really what we're trying to foster through this program is just a focus on what are the actions you're taking to make the improvements that you're looking to make part of your leadership approach. And it is all about progress, right? Progress, not perfection. Just implement the changes, try some stuff. Sometimes it feels a bit clunky. The more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you get comfortable with discomfort, the less uncomfortable it feels. And the more regularly you talk about it with somebody else, your accountability partner, the more you'll start to sense that confidence that comes with progress. And that really will help you, just not just now, but for long term in your leadership careers as well. So lean into the discomfort. That's what really makes the change kind of, I guess, most valuable for you and for your teams. And this is a reminder to me as much as to you. This whole thing about, we want highly motivated, highly engaged, really inspired teams. The only way we can make that happen is by doing it for ourselves too. So we start with ourselves. We always remind ourselves, if we're inspired, motivated, energized, then we can transmit that to our teams. If we're not, and we have that expectation of them, it's really difficult for them to understand how to make that kind of happen in reality. So we manage ourselves first always. Okay, so I'm going to open up in a moment. I'm going to open up a couple of breakout rooms. How many people we've got today? Let me just check no one's hanging around in the waiting room waiting for me to let them in. No, nobody. That's okay. So we'll open a couple of rooms because that'll be 4 a room, I think. Yeah, it's good. Just checking my maths works. And so I'd like you to think about where are you so far in terms of the actions that you've taken, the changes that you've made, and the progress that you then feel you've made. So where are you in terms of actions and progress? And last time, you'll remember when we were in our full day session, we talked about the kind of team contract and the exercise that some of you had done or were planning to do. We also talked about the plan, getting really clear expectations of our teams, sitting down with them, starting to map those out, especially this time of year as we go into planning for 2023, and starting to then track where are our teams versus those goals and expectations that we've agreed with them that they're going to deliver for us as we go into end of this year and beginning of next. We also had some challenges. There's always ongoing challenges. So if there's anything going on for you right now, discuss that in your accountability group. And have a chance just to get a fresh perspective on it, because sharing it can be really valuable with people with leadership experience. And there might be situations and there might be key priorities at the moment. So Iram's already shared that she's like super busy at the moment. That's good, right? It's good to be busy, but it's also can be overwhelming. So maybe share some of that and support each other as we start to think about what's a priority for you and how you might need to kind of support each other to handle and address them. Okay, so I'm going to go with a random breakout room today, if that's all right. So let me set those up, breakout rooms. So we'll just do 2 rooms. Actually, yeah, we will do. Hold on, let me just see what 3 looks like. Let's do 3 rooms, because then it'll be 1 group of 2. And 2 groups of 3, and it will just be a bit more intimate and give you more of a chance to open up and share what's going on. So it's a random assortment. I'm not going to tell you who's with who in advance. So let's give you just quickly, if you need to take a quick screenshot of the slides. So actions and progress to date, what's been happening in your accountability discussions, key challenges that maybe are ongoing. maybe situations with your team and key priorities at the moment. So discussion about that in your group, so that you've got this opportunity just to make sure that you've got the support you need. I'm just going to do a quick switch actually with one of the rooms, just because it was uneven. Okay, I'll give you. We're approaching 1:45. Let's give you 15 minutes on this because there might be some stuff come up, and I'm also going to probably just randomly drop into your room. So
Justin,
yeah, Matt.
when you say actions and progress, are we talking about actions and progress on the core stuff, or actions and progress with what we're doing with our internally, with our day-to-day stuff?
More related to the changes that you're making based on the program and what you're learning from the program, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Thanks for checking. That's good. Okay, I'll open the rooms. We'll go to 11, and then I'll be joining you in each of your rooms anyway. Okay, so enjoy the conversations. See you shortly.
Hello. God, you saw my double chin there.
Iram, you're back. You're with us.
No, do you know what? I took you off my monitor. I thought it's really unfair to just not have the screen on.
But you're with us now. Can you see your link to get into the room?
I can just see, you can join breakout rooms from here. Okay, good.
Okay, pause.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, good. Welcome back. So hopefully they were useful conversations. I found them useful joining you in each of your rooms. Anybody who would like to share just kind of themes or key priorities at the moment or challenges? Let's tell you what. Let's not make it an open question. Let me start with Iram and John. Let's work from the groups that I went in first. Iram and John.
I'll let John do the talking, because I'm always doing the talking.
Okay, thanks. So it was a really interesting conversation because obviously talked about our progress and our current kind of situations at work and stuff and what we've been doing. And we've got exactly the same situation. So we've got the same size sales team made up of similar type of people. So similar people from kind of backgrounds and generations and different motivations and how we manage that. So we've got a similar situation with our teams where we've got members that aren't potentially pulling their weight. So we discussed about how we manage that, which is difficult. I think my situation is probably 6 months before Iram, so 6 months. Iram's situation is probably 6 months further down the line, so it's quite interesting to get her take on how they've managed their bits and pieces. So what we did talk about just before we got cut off was the 1-3-3 meetings. So I was talking to Iram about how I use that to kind of drill into what everybody should be doing and pick up on where maybe they're not meeting their expectations and their agreements. So that's where we kind of got to before it cut off. But I think for team members that potentially aren't on board or aren't kind of pulling their weight, I think the 1-3-3 for me, and it's in its early days, I've only done one of them. I think it's going to be a really good way for me to drill into with this particular person as to tell me about what you've done this month. We agreed that you would do this activity. Talk to me about how that's gone, what issues you've had, and if it hasn't been done, why it's not been done. And we can kind of open that discussion alongside the contracting, where this is confidential chat. You can talk to me openly, and yeah, I think for me that's how I'm going to have to play it over the next 3-4 months and see how that situation develops. But it'll be good to yeah.
Just a quick question about your confidential chat thing. So I have tried this with like business reviews. We have a business review and then like any other feedback either way from me to you, you to me. Is there anything I can do to serve you better as a leader and all that lovely stuff? And they all say, no, everything's fine. So have you had the same, or did you manage to draw something out of them?
So as a general, when you're having a general chat on the phone, I think that's pretty much the feedback you get. But what I found with the 1-3-3 is that you can drill more into the individual bits and pieces and do a bit more digging, so they're more likely to open up. If you ask generally, is there anything that you need? It's normally
Yeah.
everything's fine
Yeah,
because they want to kind
okay.
of get off the call and get on to the next thing. But yeah, I don't know about anyone else.
Let me
Just
ask you a
word it
question.
maybe a bit differently. Just ask them what the 3 worst thing that's going on in their life at the moment.
Okay. No, good point. It's how
Hold the
you
precedent.
present the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's, I don't know if you remember one of the questions we discussed. It was in an early session, I think. So one of the questions I ask people early in a conversation with like a direct report is, once you've got your 133 in place, once you've established the relationship, once things are flowing, to ask the specific question: what do you need from me as your leader to get the highest possible performance out of yourself?
And then they say nothing.
Yeah.
I've tried that.
Yeah.
Said
So-
nothing. You're doing everything we can.
Yeah.
And then you just think, is that an excuse? You know, it's just like, because then if he needs my help, then I give them help, but also probably give them more work.
Ask them ahead of the meeting just so they've got a bit of thinking time and then
Yeah.
come prepared.
Yeah, and don't remember, right? It's like when you ask a customer, you know, sometimes you ask a customer a question, they close down on you, right? So you just ask again. Okay, well, no, can I ask you to think about that a bit more? Just you know, think about it again. If there was something that we could do together that helped you get a higher level performance from yourself, what would it be? And if somebody then says, well, I don't know, I need to have some time to think about it, no problem. We've got our next one-to-one on this date. Can I ask you to think about it between now and then? Come up with a couple of suggestions. Come up with a couple of things that you think would be useful. And just make it, and I kind of make it a bit of I made it a bit of a recurring question.
Yeah.
What else could we do? What else could I be doing to support you to get higher levels of performance from yourself? And sometimes it's, you know, the 133 is a really good way to do it. Sometimes it's coaching conversations. Sometimes it's thinking differently. Sometimes it's challenging them a bit harder. People don't always, you know, there aren't many people say to their line manager, could you push me a bit harder? But I have had it. I have had people say, you know, sometimes I feel like I drift and I might need a bit of, you know, encouragement or a bit more direction. So I just keep, it's a recurring theme. Just make it a recurring theme. It could, and it will surface something. Good, thanks, John. Aaron, that's great. Next group, I think, was Chris. Was it Chris?
May and
Matt and Nicola. That's it. Yeah, sorry, because you're all together, I lost sight of it. Yeah, Chris, Matt, and Nicola.
Well, we were having a similar discussion really about some team members that we were all having issues with, and just how busy we all are to fit things in, and you know, taking that time out to just clear your head and then start again, taking yourself out for a walk, you know, just doing sort of things to clear your head and then go back to it, rather than keep going on a treadmill and making yourself make silly mistakes really.
Yeah,
But yeah, managing the team, I think, is a big thing at this time of year, especially because they're all sort of thinking Christmas holidays, keeping that motivation up. So yeah, we're just talking about that really.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, we chatted about sort of, you know, individuals having other things that are affecting their individual performance. I just mentioned to the guys, I mean, I literally a few weeks back dropped the ball on something at work, which was the first time I kind of felt like I'd done that, and it really kicked my confidence a lot. It's taken me a few weeks to kind of claw back, you know, to where I needed to be. But immediately it was like, oh shit, you know, if I can drop the ball, then you can kind of realize how others kind of can do it as well.
I'm human, you know, we've all done
Yeah.
it. It's like, don't be yourself about it.
Yeah. It's about, in those situations, it's about owning it, isn't it? It's about being accountable and being accountable to resolve it, and not try and mask it, just be open. I think that's the key. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Chris, you had particularly good insight about the 133.
Yes. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the contracting and the fact that we wanted to implement the 133 with the team. We were just struggling to kind of get what we wanted onto that. So we turned it into a 135.
When we say we, Chris.
Like, Justin's the professional. Maybe it's 3 for a reason. He's like, no, 5. We need 5.
Thanks, Stance. Well, Justin literally just said to us, it's still patented, so we have to give royalties for that. So we tweaked that to be a 135 because it seemed to work quite well. And I was sharing with him that we've got this internal customer experience program that was going on, and the last session was on about culture and how to kind of get things moving with the team. And within that session, we talked about the contracting and the 135, and they absolutely loved it. So they had a meeting with myself and Stance last week, I think it was. And it's something that they'd like to try and roll out kind of throughout the different regions because it seems to work. So it's very clear. It covers everything that each individual needs to do throughout the year. We've added some other little changes on there, like we've weighted some of the points in one as well. Great. So you can see that. But yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well done, Chris. That's great. That's great work. And I think we had this conversation about principles with your group, didn't we? Where if you can't follow the tools exactly, just follow the principles. So, with the 133, the principle is clarity, focus, and priorities. It's about regular, frequent reviews, monthly checking in, quarterly, more, intimate, in-depth discussion. And then also, the other thing with the 133 or 135, I'm not precious about it genuinely. As you start to roll these out with your teams, remember, this is about handing the baton over.
Yeah.
So it's the plan you create together, but the person who owns the plan is your team member. Once it's established, get the first couple of reviews underway. You might find they turn up and they're like, oh, which document again? Don't just say, well, it's really important that we get this right. Let's look at it now, get them to open it up. Where are you with it? Right, if you haven't completed it in advance, let's go through it now. Where are you with this? Where are you with that? Get them to tell you, remember, it's their plan. And then set an expectation that every time you review it, their role is to come with it complete, so that it's their document. It becomes a self-guiding tool that helps them stay on track. That's the real principle. It might take you a couple of swings at it to get it right. Don't worry about that. It happens. Some of your team will pick it up really quickly. Others might be a little more resistant. No worries at all. Just once people know something's here and it's here for good, they'll adopt it. But that resistance is them thinking, is Stance or Chris or Nick, are they really committed to this? It is really staying around. No worries. It's your determination that makes things stick. Good. Thank you. And then Stancy, Oliver and Ria.
So yeah, we were just kind of talking about, Stancy and I had similar situations. I have, similar to group 2, there's a lot going on at the moment, but more with the wider company. Everyone's kind of really up against it, heading towards Christmas. The last quarter is crazy with lots of like blockbusters coming out, so that's impacting the types of events that we've got going on. So I do notice that my team are like racing to the end. I had a team member who I considered literally next in line if I was to leave. So she left quite quickly as well. Instead of being on a month's notice, she left 2 weeks because she had 2 weeks holiday. So it happened so quickly. I think that impacted the team because she's been there as long as I have. Listening to the reasons why she left, it was nothing personal. It was just she wanted more development, and the wider company just didn't align with her no more in terms of like her mission and values and Odeon's missions and values. And I've noticed that the morale is a little bit low just because we do like a survey every year and the results have come out, and it just kind of seems like not much has changed from a bigger standpoint. Everyone's kind of worried about budgets next year because they're quite aggressive, even though they haven't been set. Like my head of sales has kind of let everyone know that they will be quite aggressive because it's really coming down from the top. So it's a bit crap because it's setting everyone up already to like think that they're going to fail, and that it completely goes against how I manage. So it's quite hard to navigate. I was saying to Stancy and Oliver, I'm trying to keep with my 1 through 3 and keep it positive. We've still got brainstorming, and I'm still contracting with the team, you know, as a team. Obviously I'm going to have to recruit now, but it's kind of all those kind of challenges that I'm experiencing. So it just makes it a little difficult to keep the focus, you know, on where I want to take them, because I need the right people in the right places to be able to do that right now. Whereas, so I have a team of 3, and at the moment it's a team of 2. So we're kind of, even myself, we're all doing a bit of everything to kind of make up this one person that's now gone. So that's where I'm at the minute.
Wow. Stay strong, Ria. Stay strong.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Lots of gin in the evening.
I did just on thinking aloud. When I said about kind of like dropping the ball at work and stuff, one of the things that I realized, because my sales director left, my VP of sales left in the last few months, so I'm reporting straight up to the general manager.
Yeah.
So when I kind of messed up the other week, it went literally, the first port of call I had was the GM. Now, under normal circumstances, there have been 2 levels of management would have kind of filtered out some of that and said, you know, like, okay, I'm going to help you as your line manager. And then their line manager even might have gone, you know, but it was like, oh shit, this is going straight to the top. This is, you know, sort of thing. So it demonstrated to me the importance of having a good manager in place to help you navigate how you're going to resolve a situation that's whether it's by your, you know, it wasn't all my fault, but, you know, I should have seen it coming basically, and I missed it. But it's one of those, actually, the benefits of having a good manager who can help you navigate a problem to resolve it before it becomes like, you know, a much bigger.
Yeah. And the pressure as well when it comes from the top, because I've had some situations in the last couple of weeks where we've had some big like distributors cancel and they haven't got a contract in place, and you know, and then we've got like the senior management asking myself and my manager questions, and we're a bit like, where do we go with this? What do we do? Because the person that would normally deal with this was actually on holiday, and everyone's entitled to a holiday, you know, so it's hard to kind of navigate that relationship because that relationship is purely there. So sometimes the pressure of the questions that come from the top, it's more about our perception of it coming from the top. Sometimes when you take out all of that and you just deal with what's at hand, it's not as bad as sometimes we feel it can be.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. And these are all, you know, they're all learning experiences for all of us in our teams, right? They're all learning experiences. And that's the thing. If you hold that in mind, right, there's a lesson in here, whether that's it's been a challenge, I should have acted differently in future. I need to think about whether it's, you know, tracking, communication, whatever it is, but there's always a lesson in there that hopefully serves you and your teams. Yes, good. Thank you, Ria. Stancy, Oliver, anything to add for your group?
Yeah, no, for myself, I think it's just mostly into goal setting for next year. So we're pretty much slammed up until Christmas. So it's kind of getting the team on board with the changes that we're going to have to make and the different style of working, the workload going into the next year. So yeah, I think we're going to have a meeting in January, kind of like a group session to go through all of that and kind of set us up for that.
Yeah, great. Will you have a bit of breathing space in January to do that, Oliver? Things quieten down.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we do have things booked in, but the first week and a half, isn't too bad. Good. Yeah, good. Thanks, Oliver. That's great. Stans?
Oliver and Ria, that since we're last together, I've had to do a disciplinary hearing, and I changed course on it. I sort of went in with a fixed mindset that this person needed to have a verbal warning, but actually during the meeting I could sort of see how much remorse they had for their behaviour, and that they'd already, you know, actually they proved that they'd implemented some changes to improve performance. So I sort of changed course on it a little bit, and what I've done is like an official warning about a warning. So I've sent them a, you know, documented letter that dated the sort of previous performance reviews that I've had, has sort of listed the changes that are going to be, that will be made in their role to improve, but also that we'll make and how we'll support them in the business. And then, you know, just said failure to continue to improve performance will result in a verbal warning. Yeah, and so far it's been really positive, but I was just before the you know, were ended, I've just sort of said the difference in the confidence in me in managing this kind of situation is huge, you know, from 6 months ago. Not that I wouldn't be not that I'm not confident, but I probably was going in with like too much sort of personal feeling before, when now I'm like, actually, I care about this person. They're a really valuable member of the team, but they're not performing. It's letting the rest of my team down. This needs to stop. So I just had a much more positive mindset when I sort of addressed it this time.
Yeah, great. And so you're just building the confidence in your approach, and that translates to people because they'll take you more seriously in those situations as well. You get better leverage with your teams when you feel more confident about addressing challenges and you know that you're doing the right thing. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Stancy. Good. Hopefully useful conversation for all of you. And as you know, as we're sharing these things, you know, Stancy's talking about performance management. If you're not going through performance management now, you will. As Ria's talking about these situations, if you haven't got shortages in your team right now, at some point in the future, you will. If you haven't got targets coming down that seem unachievable today, at some point you will. So, you know, all of these challenges that you're facing together or individually right now, actually you're facing them together, because all of these things are going to impact some of you at some point in the future. So learning from each other how you navigate it, what are the things you're picking up as you go along, what's working, what's not, really valuable lessons from all of you. So first of all, thanks for sharing them. And think about it as every month when we have these conversations, just have that kind of radar up for, right, someone's managing this right now. When it comes up for you, you can almost use that person's experience to help you map it and work through it yourselves. Okay, we've gone on a little bit longer than the halfway point, but that's okay. Shall we take 7 minutes? Should we take until past? Yeah. Quick break. Yeah, grab a
Sounds good.
quick leg stretch, and I'll see you back at past. Just a couple of reminders. You are using the toolkit, and we're working through it in sequence. But if there's some stuff in here that's really nice, actually, and I was reviewing it recently myself, just thinking about how I'm applying it as well. There's some stuff for larger organisations, for larger teams. The succession planning is really nice, just to start to map your teams and put kind of potential people in potential spots. If you want any help with mapping that, we can pick it up at one of our full day sessions. We talked about preparation and kind of 1-3-3 goals and team review, so that's all good. Contracting, we've talked about it, but if you haven't looked at the example, go back and just look at the example template for contracting. That's really nice. And the other content we'll go through, but strategic kind of development documents, performance documents, that kind of thing are really useful. There is a couple of you mentioned handling difficult conversations. Stancy and I have talked about this previously in another session that we had one-to-one, but the process flow or the conversation flow for handling a difficult conversation can be quite useful, just to guide the way that you think about that conversation with your team member. So that's a tab on there as well. So there's lots of stuff in there. And I know when you look at it, you know, first glance, there is a lot, but as you start to think practically about applying it through your leadership journey with your teams, you'll find that it does flow quite nicely. So, you know, grab half an hour at some point, just work through the different documents and then have a discussion with your accountability partner about that. It'd be really useful. Okay, and also the online platforms. So hopefully everybody's still got access and able to kind of dip in and out of videos. All of the content from the toolkit and the program are on the video. So if there's anything specific that you want to refresh your memory on, then do feel free to drop into there when you get the chance. And just the roadmap that we're following. So we talked back in July when we launched about mindset. Remember, we said manage yourself first. When we manage ourselves first, we're much more capable leaders, much more able to feel the confidence and the sense of, you know, presence and self-esteem that we need to be in leadership positions, particularly difficult in leadership. We know that. Then make sure that we've got a plan. So when we feel clear and aligned, we feel like we've got a clear strategy around what we're trying to achieve. It makes us feel more confident, and then that translates to our teams. We help them feel more confident through our 133. We talk about principles of leadership, top 5 things that we can do just to frame ourselves and make ourselves as effective in our leadership positions as possible. So key principles first. Then we're looking at our coach model. What I thought we haven't done yet, we might touch on today, is kind of management of relationships. So we do this through there's 2 lenses. There's the relationship management, and then there's making sure that we know how to establish rapport. And we can do that. I think we do it quite naturally as leaders. You probably wouldn't be in a leadership position if you weren't able to do that. But might be quite useful to help your teams as well to remember how important it is to develop rapport, because those relationships are really important, not just with their customers, but also with each other. So we'll talk about some of that. We can talk about some of those principles. And then, of course, we start with contracting. So contracting, setting standards, agreeing how we'll work, making sure that we're signed up and that our team members are then signed up, and that mutual agreement on how we'll work together. Then objectives. So this is a long discussion about this today, 133, 135, that approach to being clear on what's expected and what the team will work on to deliver that's aligned with our own plan. 133, and then action and observation. We'll talk about this a little more at our face-to-face session in January. So action and observation, and how do we make sure that we take that observer position, because from that observer position we can coach. And then we'll talk about action and observation and coaching models at our in-person session in January together. And of course, within coaching, there's questioning and listening and techniques for doing that, which we'll also cover. And then there are coaching models that we will start to learn that will guide the conversation, guide the way that we're able to then have that structured coaching approach with our teams. And long term, we want to really start to think about development planning, helping our teams see a bigger picture for themselves. And as leaders, we can instigate that and ignite that opportunity for our teams. And it may be useful for you to think about that for yourselves as well. And then that leads us nicely to development and development planning, both long-term and tactically, kind of on a quarterly basis with our teams. And then we talked about in the toolkit, there's this succession plan that gets us thinking long-term about, if we want to grow our organizations, how do we make sure we've got the right people in the right seats and we're cultivating and developing them ready to step into those positions for the future. So that's our roadmap. We talked about the plan framework last time, so a reminder that we've got strategy and tactics, we've got us and the team. So just that kind of reminder to ourselves of the importance of alignment across our business for ourselves and our teams. And then our coaching leaders model, which is our kind of reminder of how it all works. Remember there are foundations of high performance. I won't go through this in detail, but just a reminder to us all that it's never one thing, right? So high performance are these layers. So people have to believe they can do the work, believe they can succeed, believe they can be high performers. They have to then develop the right skills that they need to actually deliver on the performance. But belief comes first, right? Belief first, then the skills, and then the right system. So making sure your teams are doing the right things in the right order, that they're really clear and focused. 133 goals and objectives, all of that stuff really helps to systemize performance. But sometimes you might be thinking, I've been really clear, we've got a great plan in place, and they just still don't do it. And check, are they lacking in the right skills? They need training, or is it a self-belief or self-resistance? Is there some resistance in there? And sometimes you'll need to coach that from people. Some people don't. I've had this many times in the past, where team members don't even realize the reason behind their own resistance. So that can be really valuable just as a reference point. One of these three will be in play when you sense poor performance or deviation from high performance from any of your teams. Okay, so we've got 20 minutes in today's session. Let me talk about trust and relationships. We'll talk about something that some of you, if you've been through sales training with me, with your teams, you might have seen some of this. But I want today for you to think about this through the lens of leadership, not through selling to customers. Think about this from influencing and persuading your teams to be able to perform at the highest level, okay? And we start with relationships, this whole principle about switching. If you think about influence, think about how to influence somebody else, the best way to influence somebody is to switch your focus from yourself to them. Okay, switch your focus from yourself to them. And often that means remembering that we all have an ego, right? And an ego is one of those, it's a fine line, an ego, right? So we need a healthy ego to feel confident. But when an ego tips over from confidence into arrogance, then it becomes a problem, right? So ego in itself is not the problem. It's the scale of where people are of the ego, and very often just reminding ourselves to park, just actually park my own ego. It's irrelevant in this situation. This is about getting the best out of the team member, right? Sometimes we need to park assumptions, and sometimes we need to park judgment. Now, doesn't mean we park experience. Right? We hold on to experience and knowledge, but we might need to park some assumptions and judgment, and recognizing that influencing people is all about meeting their own needs, even in situations when we're in leadership, and actually particularly in leadership. So there's this quote, true influence is understanding what someone else wants, i.e. what does your team member want, knowing what you want, I want them to perform at the highest level possible, right? And agreeing a way forward so you both have your needs met, right? That's obvious, right? But it's important that it starts with the other person. Make sure, what do they need? Because inherently we know what we need from people. What do they need first? What do we need? How do we join the two up and agree a way forward so they get what they want, and we get in the business what we want? So obvious, but a useful kind of reminder to get us back to foundations. So I'm going to talk through this principle of the emotional bank account. Many of you, as I say, from the sales training will know this, but instead of customers, think about the relationships with your teams. And you can think about your team's relationships with each other as well, right? As bank accounts. And this is from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the thing about these emotional bank accounts is that in order to top them up, to keep the account positive, then we do things that regularly deposit in the account. So we praise people, we recognize their achievements, we say thank you for the things they do for us, we show appreciation, we're grateful when they engage, we listen to what they have to say, non-judgmentally, we provide them with support, and we respond in the right way. Okay? And we always do the right thing as leaders. That whole values is so important, because people will do what we do, not what we say. So recognizing the importance of regular deposits in those bank accounts with our team members. And the reason that we do that, it's not the only reason we do it, but we do it because very often we'll have to make withdrawals from our teams. And when we withdraw without sufficient credit, it damages the relationship. So thinking about this equilibrium is really important. So things, withdrawals are all sorts of things, but they might be requests for urgent information. The team's already busy, but I need this data back by tomorrow. I think we've all been there. We might sometimes have to give them some critical feedback, especially when we start to take the observer role more often in our interactions with the team. So critical feedback will be important. Sometimes we just are so busy ourselves, we might overlook members of our team. We might forget to reply on time. We might find ourselves in situations where, we make decisions that we don't want to have to make. And all of those situations that are withdrawals from that emotional bank account, if we haven't got sufficient credit, then they compromise our relationship. And so one of the rules in the book, they talk about if you're overdrawn, then think about how you pay it back as soon as you can. If it's an accidental withdrawal or being overdrawn, for example. And the idea is that we maintain a form of healthy, positive credit in all of those accounts with our teams. Okay, if we think of them as bank accounts. the easiest way to remember, I should say team, not client, is ask yourself, am I in credit or debt with this team member? And that's a good sense check, right? So am I in debit or am I in credit with this team member? And the idea is just maintaining a strong account balance. So notice it says improve, not increase. So it's not always about just putting deposits in. Sometimes you might find that you have to make withdrawals, like performance management situations that you're all, if you haven't found yourself in up until now, you will find yourself in at some point. It's just part of running businesses and leading teams. So it's about improving the account balance. Sometimes we might have made too many deposits in somebody, and actually it's time to make a withdrawal. That is all part of managing those relationships. And it's not a savings account, it is a current account, which means we do make deposits, make withdrawals, make deposits, make withdrawals. But the thing that is really important is making sure that people understand where we are with those accounts. Because the reason we do it, when we're in leadership positions, the reason we do it is because we want to earn the right to challenge our teams when we need to be direct when we need to, without causing any negativity or emotional responses, to make requests of our people, to hold them accountable to performance, and to take a leadership position. Because we are, that's really important, that people take us seriously as leaders in our business. And we will often, with customers and with team members, have to remind people of the account balance. So it's one of the things that we do in our quarterly reviews, as well, monthly reviews, quarterly reviews in particular, as well as the team reviewing with us their performance. We might just check in on some of the progress we've made, some of the things we've done on their behalf, and it's almost like a check-in, so that the team recognize the importance of all those deposits that we make. And especially if you are having development plan discussions, you're talking about investments in them, some of the investments you've made in the business that inherently are investments in them as well. Just because it does work for our emotional bank account, but it also helps with people's motivation. It also helps them with their own kind of engagement in the role and engagement in the company. So that reminder to people of some of the investments and deposits that we make can be really powerful in that. Matt, yeah.
Yeah, question. So this isn't just obviously within your team members, though. These are obviously within support networks and such, isn't it? So because we work a lot with solution consultants who do demos, strategy guys. So we're constantly asking them to jump on demos, do this, do that, do that. And I constantly think sometimes it's like last minute requests for them to jump on a customer. They've got to prep, they've got to deliver, they've got to present.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of giving them a little bit of feedback sometimes, praising them, maybe going by their manager and just saying, look, they did a great job on this. So they get a bit of, positive feedback. So this isn't just with your team members, is it? This is like with anybody really that you work with in a multidisciplinary team.
It's key stakeholders, Matt. Absolutely. Yeah. Key stakeholders that help you in your role and in your business. And it's a really good point, actually, because if people are going above and beyond and you're having to ask them to do things for you on a regular basis and you don't feel like you're depositing back, finding creative ways to do that is really important, so that people get that moment of, oh, Matt does appreciate me pulling out all the stops last minute, or it does appreciate me responding really quickly. Because remember, what gets rewarded gets repeated. What gets rewarded and recognized gets repeated. And simple things, when I was at 3M, we had this system called Star Awards, where you just nominate through a portal. If somebody did something special, you'd nominate them for a Star Award, and they get sent a thank you card and a £20 voucher that they could then, it was Amazon or M&S or whatever. But it's and it wasn't a lot of money, but when somebody got a Star Award, I don't know, there was just something very personal. It just felt really meaningful, even though it's a gesture, but it's a gesture that on your behalf, it probably takes you 10-15 minutes to do something about it, to register and get it done. But it's those little things that just re-establish the deposits in the relationship for key people in your teams. And you'll be doing this anyway, but just a reminder of how important and how valuable these things can be. I was talking to a client of mine recently, and he was telling me that one of the things he'd done so they'd hit their quarter, and at the end of the quarter he he went out and bought a series of thank you cards and did a handwritten card to each member of his team and posted it on a Saturday so that it landed on their doormat on the Monday, or the Tuesday or whatever day it was. But he said the amount of calls he had from his team, so I wasn't expecting it. It was really nice. There was no gift or anything, it was just the card. And it's those little things that can sometimes you think, yeah, you know, it's actually quite a simple thing to do. It takes a little bit of time, but it really does make a difference to people. And they all become deposits in the account so that when you need to make requests of people, they think, I owe it to Matt to do this anyway, or I know he appreciates it, or I know Ria appreciates it, and all that stuff just starts to build your strength as a leader. And then I talk about trust as well. So we got the emotional bank account deposits. We talked about trust and the importance of trust in relationships. There are a couple of things that are worth thinking about. There are things that build trust. There are things that break trust. And this isn't an exhaustive list, and I'm not going to go through everything, but there are a few that are worth noting. And this is about all relationships. It's not just leaders with teams, as you say, Matt. It's key stakeholders, it's customers, but things like, you know, listening to people really does develop and deepen trust. And by the same token, not listening, being distracted, you know, having something else in your mind while you're talking to someone, they're trying to explain something and haven't said, oh, sorry, can you repeat that? All those things just start to undermine and erode trust, so for your teams and for you. So just worth remembering. This whole thing about, you know, being interested in people versus talking too much. That's one where I think, especially if you're in a sales role, if you're a natural salesperson, you go into leadership, it's really easy just to kind of talk at people. I did this for early in my career, probably still do it every now and then, but I have to catch myself and go, actually prioritize what you want to say and be just default to being interested in the other person. Prioritize what you want to say, default to being interested. That kind of is that's the conversation I often have with myself in my head. And then the other thing to remember here is, you know, this is always useful. Positively challenging people is a deposit in the bank account and is a trust builder. Whereas if you agree to too much, or when you know you should stand your ground, you don't. And again, I'm talking from personal experience. That can erode and undermine trust. So positively challenging people, pulling people up on standards and values, making sure that once you've agreed values, as you see people deviating from it, you making sure that you course correct people, really important, because if you don't, it becomes something that undermines trust between you and your teams. Okay, so I will ask you just to think about from two things there: emotional bank accounts with your teams, making sure that on a regular basis you are helping them to become more consciously aware of the deposits that you're making in their relationship, so that you can then leverage that for your own purposes as a leader. Right, really important that we do that. And then to start to think about how do you deepen and build stronger trust with your teams, and think about how you handle and manage those situations. And you might even want to share some of these principles with your teams if it's useful as they start to manage their own internal and external relationships. Okay, good. So I've got John twice. It's like,
have you?
Yeah, that's really. Can anyone else see John twice? It's good. It's like two Johns.
That's like a nightmare.
Okay, good. So in terms of content for today, I'm going to park it at that. There are a couple of other things that I just want to touch on. So, in terms of actions for today's session, if I can ask you all to continue with your accountability discussion. So if you can book an accountability call with your accountability partner, ready for our next session on Monday, the 12th of December. Okay, and just focus on kind of key actions, progress that you've made, and and sharing challenges and priorities with each other to provide support. Okay. And then the other thing was that just a quick date check. So at the moment, our plan is Friday, the 20th of January. John is kindly hosting us at W&H St Albans, which is 6 Stroud Wood Business Centre. Should be in the invitation. Now, I think, Iram, you said this is going to be a challenge for you this day, didn't you?
Yeah, so that's been confirmed. Excuse me, I've got a sales meeting and they've decided to hold the awards dinner on the Friday night. So I was hoping I'd be done for Thursday and be able to come on Friday, but it's a no-go.
It's a no-go. Okay. Is everyone else still okay for Friday the 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good here.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think? Shall we? Iram, are you okay if we carry on with the 20th?
Yeah, by all means, go ahead. And if you're recording it, I'll dial in.
Okay.
You know what? I really wanted to hear from Abby in this whole situation that she had last time we met. So I don't know if anyone's got an update.
No, I wanted to hear it as well, and I was curious.
Oh, which one is it? The where they were looking to? She had the team members, and they were
Yeah, we're going to put somebody on. Were they going to put them on probation or
Extended
extend
probation,
the probation period?
Yeah, that didn't. She didn't. She decided not to go with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she did have the conversation with them, and
Yeah.
and was pretty clear that that things needed to change, but
Yeah.
they didn't extend the probation in the end.
Okay. Well, we'll pick up with her next time we.
Now we
next time
know. Yeah, no, go ahead. It's fine. I'll if you're recording it, I'll have to just watch back.
Okay. John, is what's the Wi-Fi like at W&H?
Yes, good. Yeah.
So, Iram, are you around that day? You just can't get to St Albans, or?
No, I've got full day team meetings that day. 'Cause we've got a 3-day sales meeting and then an
Okay.
awards dinner.
Okay, so I'll put a Teams link in as well. We'll record it, and then I'll share it with you afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Sorry, sorry you can't make that, Iram. And then the final date for our final in-person session is Friday the 21st of April at Viva Systems Oxford. Matt, you're kindly hosting us. Matt, believe it or not, I've had something come up for Friday the 21st of April.
Okay.
Are we? So I've provisionally said I can't do it because we had this date in, but I wanted to ask if we could. How are people fixed for flexing that final date on the?
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm by
Yeah.
me.
Should we quickly have a look at diaries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank
please stay away from a Monday or a Friday though. I struggle, I'm not busy with dates.
Yeah. So okay. So try and move away from a Monday or Friday. Okay. Thanks, Nicola. Let's have a quick look.
And do we know when's Easter holidays? Do we know?
Easter holidays the first couple of weeks in Easter. It's the week of the 3rd and the week of the 10th.
Okay.
Okay.
So we were going to meet on the 21st. So my suggestion, obviously you're knackered on the 20th as well, Iram, aren't you? So
No, that's just for January.
That's January.
oh, sorry, yeah. Well, we can always move it a day earlier and do it on the 20th.
I can make that.
I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do 20th.
Are you on about January? Sorry.
No, April.
Oh no, sorry, Stan's April.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Fine with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, to 20th.
Yeah, good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20th.
Okay, I'll just shift the booking at work then.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody. So I'm just going to, I'm literally going to move that workshop now. And we were going to grab a meal afterwards, weren't we? Still okay for that, everybody?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. I'll
We're
move
good.
both those invitations then. I think we're going to do an early evening thing, weren't we? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody. That's great. Okay, so we are coming up to the hour. So if I could ask you to, with your accountability partners, book that next session between now and when we meet in December. And in the meantime, if anything you want to share in the WhatsApp group, jump in. You've all got my personal number. So if you need any support offline, you want to do a one-to-one, quick catch up or seek some advice on anything, please do feel free to contact me, as some of you have done. So thank you. And well done on the progress so far. Great to hear you've all got some challenges going on, so because that's exactly what helps us to grow, develop, and become stronger leaders. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, enjoy everybody. Have
Thank
a
you
great
very
lunch.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers all. See you later.
See you all later.
Thanks everyone. Take care. See you.
Bye.
Bye.